Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. May the 4th be with you. As you can see, brought out the lightsabers. I actually had to put them on like little books because they're so freaking loud, but I wanted to have them up. This one might go off because I know it's on the timer, it like automatically shuts off. So that if that like drops, then I'll probably end up leaning over to turn it back on. But of course, I'm here to review the Star Wars Clone Wars series finale, Victory and Death. It was a really good episode. I was very excited for this one. I did do a live reaction to it, so I will have that up. Hopefully, the plan is to actually put it up later today. So I'm going to have that up later tonight. And odds are it will not have any footage whatsoever because I'm sure Disney will, like, strike me down with, the power of the dark side. So that it probably will have, like, no footage in it. It'll just be audio, but you can check out my reactions to that once that's uploaded. But it was really good. I really enjoyed the episode. It was, I want to say like 24 minutes or something like that. So it was actually shorter than the last one. But I loved it. I was like, okay, it's the final one. We know technically what happens. We know that the three main characters in here, Maul, Ahsoka, and Rex, we know that they survive. The question is, how do they survive? Do they team up in order to survive? Do they split up in order to survive? Lots of questions going into it, but we knew the outcome, just not the details that led to the ending. So I love the way it all played out. We had some good action in there. Maul was pretty much doing his thing. It was just like, okay, all right, they're doing that thing because he's listening to the communications. He's going through. It's like, all right, force choke these two guys. They're dead. He goes in, wipes out the hyperdrive, which was such a cool thing because I don't think we've ever actually seen that happen. Like, I think technically Obi-Wan does something similar to that in like the original Star Wars. I forgot exactly what he did on the Death Star, but it was something like in the same vein where he was like, ruining stuff. Oh, yeah, there it is already. So it was it was something like close to that. He was messing with the system. I don't think it had anything to do with like actually hyperdrive. But Darth Maul goes in. He's just pushing people left and right, tossing them off bridges. He like destroys the whole thing and forces them out of hyperdrive, which destroys the ship because they didn't do it naturally. So it like broke and it messed the ship up on the inside and on the outside. And they stopped like right as they were, next to a moon. So they got pulled in without being able to actually do anything with the ship. So I love the way that was handled. I mentioned before, I would have loved to have seen him get his lightsaber back and just kind of, take a few people down here and there because that just would have been awesome. Sadly, we don't see that, but it wasn't really Maul's episode. Like, he did some stuff for sure, but for the most part, he escaped. Like, I don't think he actually even said an actual word in it. I think he says like 2 lines because he says something when he's dealing with Ahsoka because he's like force throwing all this stuff at her. He said like 1 or 2 lines as that was happening, and then he grunts a little as he's like trying to get away from the ship, but he doesn't, of course, why say anything? He's inside the ship and she's like behind him trying to pull him back. Like, what's there to say? So it was interesting how little we actually did hear from him. I was kind of shocked by that, but it was totally fine. It was definitely Ahsoka and Rex's episode. It was like them and the droids trying to survive, and it was very well done. Like, I was like, I know they survive, but what happens? And the emotion, from Rex, like he cries in that moment where it's like he recognizes the fact that he is looking at his entire family, pretty much like his brothers, brothers in arms, and literally brothers because they are clones, but he's alone. Like, he has Ahsoka, but he's looking at family, and they're just like, you're just a target to kill. And it's like, wow, this is a tough moment for him. Like, I don't think we've really seen that happen before. Like, he teared up in the last one, and then we see like the actual, like a tear running down his eye. And I was like, I love this. This is a really well done moment. And just everything they did in this episode was great. And the ending, it was so intense because I was like, I know they live, but just watching Ahsoka, like, she's taking these hits from the blasters, like, she'll get scuffed. And like, we've never seen that before. I wish this thing was on longer. Because I want it on the whole time. It's just gonna do its thing over and over again. It's just gonna be on and off, on and off. But I love the way they handled it because, we see her take all these hits, and that's something that you just don't really see. Like, the Jedi don't really get overwhelmed that much, and if they do, typically they just die. It's not really drawn out the way that it was here, where someone takes hit after hit, but they keep fighting. Like, we haven't really had like a real last stand sort of moment. Like, we see the people just die. Like, that's just how it plays out. They die off. So it was really interesting to watch her go through, and it's like they have to, wait for the droids to do their thing and like, drop the floors down so that they can like decrease the number so that they can stun as many clones as they can. And it was just so well done. And then, of course, Maul ends up taking the first ship that they get. And, of course, Ahsoka's like, I can't actually let him escape. And at the time, they thought that was their only ship anyway. And it was cool to see her actually try to pull the ship. Because I was curious. I was like, is she going to do it? Because is she strong enough to actually pull that one off? So that was a cool moment. And, she was fighting and fighting. And she couldn't pull it back. But she was holding it long enough. She could have probably destroyed the ship if she was able to hold on a little longer. But, of course, they were being surrounded. And Rex is like, there's too many of them, so she had to let, Maul go. And I love the fact that they, when he goes in the hyperspeed, they show the little spiral, which they've done because it's from the movie, so that was like their new thing for these last 4 episodes. So I love that, and so he ends up going off to do his thing, bring back his syndicates and stuff. Maybe we'll get some more content out of that, because there's still a lot of time in between this moment and even Solo. Like, if you guys have seen it, so stuff like that, there's still a lot there. So I'm looking forward to what happens, next, but for now, he takes off, and then we're left with Ahsoka, Rex, and the clones. And this ship is just going down. Like, they're just trying to survive as the ship is basically just plummeting into this moon. And they go through, and they keep surviving. They keep surviving over and over and over again. They go through. The droids end up being completely wiped out. And someone mentioned, because I posted this. Here we go. Because I posted this review on my Facebook page, my Invisiblekatana Facebook page, and someone mentioned that one of the droids in this, in the last episode, and it would also carry into this one, may have been Chopper. And that's not actually the case, but I think that was an obvious reference to Chopper. Like, it was definitely that type of droid, because he even had like Chopper's arms and stuff. And I was like, I don't remember Chopper actually being like on this planet, like based on the planet that they showed when they landed, I was like, I don't think this is Chopper, and it definitely was, because I was like, especially when they shot him, I was like, I mean, I know Hera found him and he was messed up, but I was like, he was like white. They were like executed there, so it was interesting. But I did look it up after I watched the episode a second time. So that wasn't Chopper, but it was obviously like the same sort of model. But that was really interesting, because I was like, the droid did sound like Chopper. He totally had like the arms and stuff like that, and I was like, that's definitely Chopper, right? So that was interesting that they put that in there, and they called him Chip, so it was Chip and Chop. So that was interesting. I was like, oh, that's definitely an interesting way to do that. But it wasn't actually Chopper. I did make sure to look that up. I believe Chopper was actually in a campaign that was on Hera's planet, and that's what happened there. But that was definitely like one of Chopper's type, one of those types of droids. So that was really interesting to have that in there. But it's just a crazy moment. They wipe out the droids. Of course, Rex is able to actually get out, and it's like, all right, Ahsoka's trying to get to him, and then the whole ship like blows up, and he's spiraling out of control. He has to start the ship up in midair, and then he's like flying through debris trying to find her in the haze, and she's like plummeting, and it's like, hey, and trying to catch on, and then she kind of catches on, then she flies off again, and then they would start doing like grass outside. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I'm like, now they start cutting grass. It's like 6 o'clock at night. Although it's so bright now, you never know what time it is. But it was just so interesting. And then of course they land, and they they actually bury as many as they can. They put all of their helmets on their graves and stuff. And I love the way it was handled, because in that final moment, Ahsoka has to make a decision where she has her lightsaber, and she decides to leave it. And it was like, okay, for one, that actually helps with the little issue. Like, some people were like, well, how does she have blue lightsaber? I talked about it. I was like, she had green, white lightsabers, which you can't really get from blue lightsabers, because you're supposed to like heal red ones to turn them white. So I was like, how does that work? So she left the lightsaber. She lost one. I would assume that's what happened, because she only dropped one. So I'm like, I would assume her being flung out into the sky, she lost the other one. But she decides to leave the one that she has. And oh, this does turn off. I didn't even notice it. So this one's so much quieter. Because this one takes AAA, this one takes AA, so it's like way louder. That's funny. I never knew it turned off. I never have it on long enough. This one always turns off way faster, so I didn't notice. Okay, that's a good little note. I'm trying to have it like in the. I just want the lightsaber showing. I don't know. Anyway, she drops the lightsaber, and I was like, okay, what happens next? So it's the end of the episode where what's gonna happen, and I love what they did. They do the fade out. And I'm like, all right, we see the ship coming down. And I'm like, okay. It took a second. I was like, I recognize that type of ship. But it didn't register with me that was original trilogy ship at first. And then as it's landing, I'm like, okay, so we got some snowtroopers. And then I was like, hold on. Is this a flash forward? And then, of course, they start panning out, and like just before I saw the actual stormtroopers, I was just like, yeah, of course it's a flash forward because these are snowtroopers. And then of course we see actual stormtroopers, we see the probe droids, and I was like, this is really cool. We see actual stormtroopers in the Clone Wars art style. And then Darth Vader walks off the ship, and that was awesome. I was like, of course it has to end on Darth Vader finding Ahsoka's lightsaber. Like that's genius, actually. Oh, the batteries must be like dead on this thing or something, because it shouldn't shut off that fast. That's weird. Ah, well, it'll be off. I'll just let this go off if it wants to. It seems like now, there it is, because I was just about to say, like, it seems like all of a sudden this one is staying on super long. But it was great. I was like, I love the way they did it. Vader looked really cool. Of course, he's just breathing and stuff. But he looked super cool in the Clone Wars style. He looked different even than he does in Rebels because it's a different art style. But absolutely loved it. And, he just walks up, finds the lightsaber, he ignites it, and then they have like the little thing flying. I recognize what it is, I think, but I of course don't know the name. Might be Ryloth. Nope, that's the planet that Chopper was on. That's the only reason that's in my head, is because that's the name of the planet. I just looked that up. That's why that's in my head. It wasn't a Ryloth. Excuse me. But I like the way they did it. It was a really great ending, and he finds Ahsoka's lightsaber, and I would assume this is way before Rebels, or at the very least, it's definitely before Rebels Season 2. So I like the way that was handled. He finds her lightsaber, and then that's really it. He finds it, he ignites it, and it's like, okay. He looks up, turns the lightsaber off, and he walks away, and it's just this clone trooper's helmet, and it's painted up with Ahsoka's thing too. And it makes sense that they would choose that instead of just like one of the plain ones, or even Rex's helmet that they left behind, because it's like that's an attachment to Ahsoka. That was Ahsoka's last thing as even being remotely close to what the Jedi once were. So I love that, and it's like that helmet, and it just shows the reflection of Vader as he's walking away, and then he just fades out, and it's just this helmet of a dead clone trooper that was attached to Ahsoka during Order 66, and it was a great way to end it, and I loved it, and it reminded me of Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan, where it was just like this calm moment where you expect, especially in that episode, I expected a bunch of action, but then it was like when it happened, it was like, of course they're older now, and it just makes sense to have that much slower pace. And in this, we have all our action, and then it's just like the ending makes perfect sense for it to just be a silent moment where she drops the lightsaber, and then it fades to the future, and it's Darth Vader, the one person that she cared so much about, the person that she wanted to help but couldn't trust Maul to actually do it. Like, is it the truth? Is it not? What can be done? But she just believed in him, and unfortunately that didn't mean anything. And it ends on that sort of dichotomy where it was like, this is the end of everything, and she leaves it all behind, and then he finds it years later, and it almost means nothing a little bit. It's just a relic of the past. And so it's just an interesting way to kind of have it play out and just kind of end. And it's quiet, it's somber, and he just walks away, and we just see him fade into the mist, and it's just like, that's it. That's Clone Wars. So absolutely loved it. Phenomenal ending. I'm definitely going to rewatch like the last 4 episodes without a doubt. At the very least, even if I don't do that, I'm going to be rewatching Darth Maul versus Ahsoka 100 million times, because that's still like the coolest thing in the universe. So I loved everything about this finale. I loved these last 4 episodes, them changing it, and just the way it went. So good. It's just insanely amazing. So very great. Best Star Wars day ever. Hope you guys had a good Star Wars day. I did go online. I got myself the 40th anniversary edition of the tie-dye Empire Strikes Back shirt. So that was pretty cool. The full like sweatshirt / jersey thing. So I was able to get that. Couldn't get anything else. The site just got piled on. I screwed up with like some money thing because I've been buying a bunch of nerd stuff. Being stuck in quarantine, I've been buying some collector's editions and cameras and stuff, and so I didn't think about it before I was online. I probably could have got the keys. I had already hit my limit, and then I made the terrible mistake of emptying out my cart, and I should have totally just I should have called my bank before doing that, but I was dumb, and it was just like, well, as long as I got the thing, because that I actually wanted the keys, I was just gonna resell immediately. But I hope you guys were able to get something that you wanted, if you guys, even went on the Disney site to try to get some new Star Wars stuff. I'm looking forward to whatever we have next. The stuff that they've done on Disney Plus is really cool. Like, if you pick on anything, instead of it just showing like a clip from the movie or a clip from an episode, it'll show production art, except for Clone Wars. That's the only one, like, it just shows a clip, which I thought was interesting, that they didn't have like any of the random production art from the other 6 seasons, which I thought was super weird. I was like, it's the only one that doesn't have like, production art by. I'm like, it's like 6 full seasons. Why don't they have anything? Because I'm sure they had drawings just like they did for this final season. Same, I'm sure they still had someone draw the art before it was CG. It wasn't just like, all right, boom, instant CG and that's it. I'm like, I'm sure they did drawings. So it was weird. That's the only one, but I love all the cool old school art that you get to see if you go through all the Star Wars movies. It'll show you like little art pieces. So I love that. The Mandalorian gallery thing has been released today, and it's the first episode is on like directing the show. So I'm probably gonna check that out. I might not do it today, but I'm looking forward to checking that out because once I saw that trailer, I was like, I would love to see some more behind the scenes footage. I love what I already seen about it, like the crazy giant dome that they have, like the new technology that's kind of replacing blue screen pretty much. Like you actually film stuff and then you film it inside of this dome and it's real footage behind you. So I would love to see more of that. I think that's insane. Like I love that technology, and that's at some point that'll just be like the standard. Like people will just film and then you just do everything inside of a dome and everything will look more realistic. Like it won't be as CG as it used to be. So looking forward to checking that out whenever I end up doing it. But love this finale. Obviously, I would love to know what you guys thought about the series finale. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. How did you guys feel about the ending? What did you think was going to happen as the episode kind of went on? What did you want to see happen? The one thing that I wish they did, and I figured they wouldn't, it was just like the episode not being an hour long. I kept saying it, but I was like, it's going to be half an hour. The one thing, as I was watching it, I was like, this could happen if they wanted to do like one of the coolest nerd callbacks ever. But I was kind of hoping that as the ship crashed, it would crash land on the planet that's in Jedi Fallen Order, because you find one of the ships, and it crashed during the war. And I was like, it would be really cool if this was the ship that crashed. They just didn't have any, you don't see any of the clones in there because everyone's been dead forever. So like it would have made sense that you wouldn't find a bunch of old clone bodies. Like you find some here and there, but it would make sense. It's easy because you only find like 2, maybe 3, like actual old dead clone bodies in there, and you might not even find that. But it was always really interesting, and I was like, they could totally do it, and I'd buy it that you just wouldn't see any of Ahsoka's people. It would just be someone with a regular helmet on, and I was like, that would be cool if it happened, but sadly it didn't. It was its own little planet, but that would have been really cool. I would have like lost my mind if that happened, but like as it was going, I was like, they could do it though if they thought about it. It's in space. You don't, just it could totally happen. It could be a thing, but that didn't happen, and it's fine that it didn't. That just would have been a really cool nerd moment for me. But love the finale. Can't wait to see what we get next. I don't know where we're going after this. I know we have Mandalorian season 2. Who knows what's up movie wise? We just have to wait and see what happens there. But for now, this is like the best Star Wars day ever. I don't know if any other Star Wars day can top this, because it ended. It was Star Wars Day with the end of Clone Wars. Unless a movie comes out on Star Wars Day and it's a great movie, or the Mandalorian finale ends next year as well. That's really all they got. Like I don't know what else you could possibly have, that can match ending Star Wars Clone Wars, the show that died and came back. So I don't know. I don't know if this Star Wars Day is ever really going to be topped, but absolutely loved it. Phenomenal ending. Can't wait to see what we get next, whatever it may be. But like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about the series finale of Clone Wars. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. And of course, may the Force be with you.